See, so this is almost 20 hours after I've browned everything. I rounded off the heads of these screws to look more like originals. And then the stock I stripped. And I think I did one coat of the aluminum foil, or steel wool and vinegar. It didn't really distress it as much as I wanted, but doesn't really matter because I was going to go over it with a dark walnut stain. And I did, I think, 3 layers of that, and I wipe it off after 5-10 minutes and do another one. So I really like how that one's coming along. So you can see this brass barrel, and I took a wood screw and I wrapped it in saran wrap, put that in the barrel to plug it to keep any extra antiquing or any extra finish getting in there. I think this slipped in there just a little bit. There we go. It turned out pretty decent, I think. Over time, it'll turn out ultimately the way it should. At any rate, so I watched a couple more videos and learned, nope, you need to create kind of a box that the gases that create the corrosion of the brass the gases are what do the work, whereas I'd had the stuff I'd had the brass submerged in there for like most of yesterday, and then watched a couple videos, figured out, oh, okay, I get it. So this green, all you got to do is wash it in water, and that neutralizes the chemical reaction that's going on. This piece, which is more of a taking on more of a copper color, I might have to redo it again, because I noticed when I opened this up like 5 minutes ago, it had fallen into the solution, and so that what would have been green has now turned to almost it's a coppery kind of look. So I do need to neutralize that, so we'll see if it turns out the same or not. And but that's the antiquing or the tarnishing of the brass. All right, so I mixed in my grandma's old ball mason jar. I mixed some tung oil, so quite a bit of linseed oil, a little bit of that dark walnut stain, again, the Minwax dark walnut, and then some turpentine as a dryer. Mix them up. I've been gone for a little bit to get my hairs cut. I'm gonna mix this up again, and then I'm gonna apply this with a homemade brush of cotton t-shirt to the stock. And I'll probably do at least 2 applications of that. Before I do this, I'm going to get set up with a wire to hang this from. All right, so here we are. Move these over a little bit. You see the nicely tarnished barrel. You can see London there and the stamps. That is their peen mark where they were going to put, where they recommend, I suppose, putting the touch hole. That's actually going to move a little bit. I didn't like their location of it. Then you can see a little bit of cheap engraving there. All over, or all set. I think it's a nice touch. I kind of like that. I'm going to need to get that browned, though. I have one application of it, and it's definitely going to need another before we're done here. So, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to do this other than just kind of... I really need to be cleaning up stuff. I'll do this number. If it turns out to be this color, we'll see how it does when it dries. But I really like that color. I really do. Okay, unfortunately, I'm going to have to hang this on the wire, which means I'm going to have to change the camera angle and all that. Okay, here we go. Another thing I was gonna stain, and remember I've got finish, oils, tung oil and linseed oil. To help seal all this stuff. Those are, I don't know if tung oil is correct for the time, but linseed oil was used a lot, still is. And at any rate, I was going to do that for the little ramrod. All right, here we go. We'll let that air dry. And I need to dispose of this so we don't have any combustion issues. All right, I've waited about 15 minutes, I think, and I'm gonna rub the excess oil off. I know there's different ways to finish this stuff, but I'm gonna try this method. I apologize for the background noise. It's my dogs that are wrestling, literally wrestling above the floor right above here. So that's what you're hearing. And there we go. I just realized I'm gonna need to take the trigger group out anyway, so I can brown that too. So one more thing I gotta do. All right, I know this thing's together now. Let me back out a little bit here. But last night, night before, well, I guess tomorrow is Resurrection Sunday. Most people would call it Easter. That's a different subject. At any rate, last night, I got to watch something. It was late. I don't know why I stayed up so late. I stayed up till about 2. But I rented the movie with Charlton Heston, Ben-Hur from, I think, 1959 or so. Love that movie. Charlton Heston and Jimmy Stewart. Jimmy Stewart is, of course, not in Ben-Hur, but those two guys and John Wayne are probably my 3 favorite actors. So anyway, back to this pistol. I was impatient. I'm sorry I did not video putting everything together. It would have added another half an hour of dinking around with stuff. So to cut to the chase, the browning here turned out very nice. In resetting these screws, which rounded out very nice. Same thing for the tang screw, and then the caulk screw there. The end of these screws, which end up right there and right back here, you could still see they are still shiny because I had to grind off the end of them, basically. I played around a lot with with the frizzen, mainly where it pivots on here. You can see I've already gone back and polished stuff up on the frizzen spring, and I changed the shape of where this all pivots and stuff, because it wasn't wanting to throw the hammer all the way forward. Okay, so for all you guys that are all skeptical of Indian-made guns, oh, they don't spark. Well, here we go. Spark. Spark. So, after playing around with the peen mark that they had, I kind of moved the mark down to where I wanted it, and the sunrise position right there. I think I'm going to be pretty happy with that. There's a fair amount of research out there what size to drill it out at. I think I'm just going to start with a 1/16 of an inch. I'd seen one guy found the sweet spot was at 0.5 or 0.059, and I want to say 1/16 of an inch would be 0.0625. But a lot of guys were right there in the 16s, or at 1/16. So anyway, the finish of this stock, I mean, it looks like it could be a walnut stock. It is from India, so I have no clue what kind of wood it was. We're still working on browning the tang a little bit. The brass tarnished nicely. I had here the end of the stock. It was flush with the end of the barrel, straight down to the end of where the ramrod is. And thus, the ramrod stuck out a little bit. Not a big deal. But in looking at pictures from Pirates of the Caribbean and Black Sails, the HBO show, this gun is on both of those shows in that movie quite a bit, by various actors, and I cut it back to here. I liked that a little bit better. Plus, it allows the rounded ramp right here of the end of the ramrod to kind of wedge itself against here, and it keeps the ramrod in there. This screw here on the bottom of the trigger guard, you can see it's a bit of a protrusion, or I don't know what the term would be. It kind of protrudes past the trigger guard a little much, so I'm going to take that out and grind it down so it fits a little better. I really like the direction this is going. I've already taken out this pin because I was going to take out the barrel, and I was going to drill the touch hole. So let me get set up, and I'll video that. All right, got these from the local hardware store, Orscheln's, and a Century drilling tool. Got a 1/16 bit. This guy, and rated for steel and stainless steel. It's cobalt. This is a pretty strong drill bit. So we are drilling through brass. I believe the chamber in the back of the barrel here, breech plug, I want to say it's hollowed out back here a little bit. So I did test this with the ramrod to make sure depth. It comes to about here, right there, and you can see there is where the touch hole is going to be. But I will be drilling through this soft steel, just a little bit of it, after this brass. So it is what it is. All right, so pardon my mess, my electrical kit, which needs to go elsewhere. Wood blocks, vise, all that kind of stuff. Sawzall. Here we go. I think it's been quite a while since my drill press had a 16th inch bit in it. Just getting it centered is a chore. Be nice to use a piece of leather to hold this in, so I don't mar up the side of the barrel. Little piece of leather. I'll go with that way. So go like so. Try your very best to make this all level with the world. All right. This is when all the magic happens. Hey babe, do you have a flashlight? I'll take the bit out, put it back in its container. It goes with my other bits. I can't remember what these are called, but I'm going to dress the outside of this touch hole. One of these guys. So it's going to put a little bevel on the edge of that hole.
Make sure that you wear eye protection and everything, right?
Oh yeah, and as always, wear appropriate hearing and eye protection. Sometimes we do that. Okay, so let's tighten this up. Get it lined up. Okay. There we go. All right, favorite snap-on pliers. Not that they're important with this, but those will be going back on my belt when I can. So as you can see right there, I know I've got the peen marks. I kind of had to do that to convince, to erase the peen mark that they had. Their location was wrong. It was above, directly a hole's height above this. It's that mark right there. At any rate, it doesn't look the greatest. I don't think it's really going to amount to anything right now, but let's see if we can get some light here. There we go. We got it. Okay. I'll put this back in here. Check to see that that's going to line up. I'm usually pretty good about blowing out the back side. So take extra care to do this correctly. And I'm actually going to grind off the end of one of these so I know it's a narrower width than the outside of the wood stock. So bear with me here. Trying to file this to a pointed nature to some degree so this will pass right through all the holes here and won't grab any more wood than it has to. Work pretty well. Sink it a hair more. It's a good spot. Okay. Tang screw. Down tight. Now the rear lock plate screw. So far, both of these have both been able to clock at about 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock. 7 o'clock, would be 4 o'clock, whatever. Anyway, you get the picture. I try to point those as best I can. Like forward, forward, forward. These wouldn't time correctly, so I just have them off at that angle. But there you go. Touch hole is in place. I'm gonna go get some powder and a bullet. Maybe we'll at least shoot a blank through it. We'll shoot a blank first.